Here's a question. What does Puni Puni Poemi, Ekitosin Dragon Destiny, and High School DxD all have in common? The answer is this. They are all banned in my home country, New Zealand, and things are about to get worse. A few months ago, Gun Girl 2 was banned in New Zealand, and just recently, Criminal Girls Invite Only was banned as well. Is this necessary or just an overreaction? Firstly, I think we need to look at why the classification board exists in the first place. It is their job to make sure that we are safe and that we consume media that is appropriate for what we can handle. It is mainly focused on protecting children, giving us guidelines as to what they can watch based on their age. It also protects adults by giving us fair warning as to the contents, so that you too can avoid watching a film with raunchy sex scenes with your parents. That in itself justifies their existence in my opinion. The New Zealand Office of Film and Literature Classification also has the power to ban a publication if it is deemed objectionable. To qualify as objectionable, the piece has to promote or support anything on this list here, which has been extrapolated from crimes here in New Zealand. Going through this list, we have the exploitation of children or young persons, or both for sexual purposes. This is obviously based on child pornography laws, and yes, I agree that promoting this kind of activity has no right to exist. Secondly, this list has the use of violence or coercion to compel any person to participate in or submit to sexual conduct. This is, of course, based on rape and sexual assault laws. While this point may seem reasonable, it has some pretty big consequences. BDSM is an incredibly popular lifestyle between consenting adults, and misuse of this law could very possibly put BDSM material in jeopardy. Rape is bad, but rape fantasies between two consenting adults is ultimately harmless, even though the two may seem indistinguishable from an outsider, so this point already has some contention behind it. Third, we have sexual contact with or upon the body of a dead person. Anti-necrophilia law. It's disrespectful, and I have no arguments against this. Fourth, we have the use of urine or excrement in association with degrading or dehumanizing conduct or sexual conduct. Now this point seems a bit bizarre to me, as this too ties in closely with certain fetishes. What goes on between two consenting adults that causes no harm to anyone or thing should be acceptable. Making this illegal is senseless and the ultimate form of kink shaming. It is also extremely hypocritical considering New Zealand's filmmaking history. More on that later. Next up, we have one word, bestiality, which is also against the law here in New Zealand, despite what some people might joke about. It's a question of consent. Animals can't provide it, and that is that. And finally, we have acts of torture or infliction of extreme violence or extreme cruelty. I really think they are trying to nail home that it has to be extreme. And this is another one I tend to agree with, although the term extreme is highly subjective, and it would be appreciated if they could make the term clearer. It also puzzles me how the Saw franchise was able to pass. It doesn't get much more extreme than that piece of torture porn. So clearly, there are some flaws that could be exploited to push an agenda. However, the fundamental flaw in the system is that there is no consideration for the tone or overall feel of the publication. This is particularly important when dealing with cartoons. A cartoon is essentially a non-realistic or semi-realistic art style. This includes Western animation, anime, and certain CGI renderings. The point of a cartoon is that it is instantly distinguishable from reality, so any impact that these styles have should be severely diminished. Case in point, characters' ages. Since anime characters tend to look youthful, the age of the characters tend to come into question a lot. I can't believe I have to say this, but these characters are not real. Yes, your waifu or husbando is fake. These characters are, by the very definition of the style, unbelievable, and what they do should be treated as so. To push the point even further, say I draw two stick figures having sex. You can't put an age on that. Now what if one of them was half the size of the other? What if I draw a speech bubble saying, "Lol, I'm 14? Should that be banned? The answer is no, because no matter how you dress it, cartoons are simply unbelievable, and no one in their right mind would think that is promoting pedophilia in any way. Let's say for argument's sake that games work a little differently from film, as you become a participant in the act instead of a passive observer. Except we know this is not the case. It's widely been debunked that taking part in violent video games does not translate to violent actions in the real world. It's a fair assumption that this can be extrapolated to games containing mild sexual violence, and if that isn't good enough, then the only research that the Classification Office links on their own website shows that there is inconclusive evidence between sexual violence in media and impact on day-to-day life. Inconclusive. If you are going to ban a piece of media, thereby making it a crime to possess, then you should make damn well sure that it is extremely harmful, not a little discomforting or slightly distressing. Real harm and banned media have to go hand in hand. I'm going to go off on a small tangent here, as I feel it's important to mention that the New Zealand Office of Film and Literature Classification's website is a joke. The interface is so user-unfriendly, it's very easy for a member of the public, such as myself, to get frustrated very quickly and quit trying to find the information they are looking for. For example, I still do not know for absolute certainty what it means for a publication to be banned. This is incredibly important information, considering the legal implications of breaking the law. But it doesn't end there. You should imagine that it would be fairly easy to find a list of banned movies, TV series, and video games on their website. But you will be wrong. Because the term publication includes things such as images and computer files, the first thing you come across are titles such as -14 girlontop.jpg and 3!08vrs.jpg. While these titles leave very little to the imagination, it is sickening to think that the New Zealand government would put series such as High School DxD and Gun Gale 2 in the same company. And while those titles are undoubtedly disgusting images that require charges being laid, we then get titles such as 0_31.jpg and 0_734.jpg. Now, while I'd like to trust that these two images are utter filth, the fact that Puni Puni Poemi is also banned really does make me question my faith in their decisions. And it should be noted, thank God, we can't view these images ourselves. This leaves the Classification Office free from criticism. Couple that with the fact that what we essentially have is a list of file names with no context, and considering how easy it is to change a file name, then what we have is essentially an exercise in futility. However, you can set parameters. The country of origin is a very useful parameter, but the list of media is so ridiculously detailed. Under DVD options, we have DVD, DVD Zone 1, DVD Zone 2, DVD Zone 4, and the list goes on. This is needlessly complicated and not even accurate. High School DxD is listed under DVD, but not under DVD Zone 4, the region New Zealand shares with Australia. And since Australia has this series for sale, the DVD is Zone 4. Hell, I even found another anime series that has been banned by accident because it was under Blu-ray and not DVD. Apparently Mark and Key Season 2 is banned in New Zealand. Oh, and according to this list, there are no video games banned in New Zealand. Funny considering the whole reason I looked into doing this video is because 2 video games have been banned this year. There is a survey on the site showing that a vast majority of people are pleased with the work the Classification Office is doing. And that probably is because no one can tell what shenanigans this organisation is up to. This website is truly a steaming pile of garbage, and the New Zealand government should be ashamed of it. The effectiveness of banning a piece of popular media in the digital age should come into question. From what I've been able to tell through Censored Gaming's video on Gun Gale Double Pieces New Zealand ban, it is illegal to own, possess, or sell the game. It is interesting to note that watching a video or stream was not mentioned. Why is it okay to watch gameplay, but not okay to play it? If this title is so dangerous to the health of the public, then surely it should be a crime to view it too. And this being the case, how would you police it? The answer is, outside of becoming a Russian or China-like regime, you can't. When the media that is banned in your country is available to the majority of the rest of the world, the media becomes incredibly easy to consume, and the ban accomplishes nothing. The banning protects no one. Let's talk about Criminal Girls Invite Only, which was banned recently. The game has been out and available for around 2 years. Banning it now is basically acknowledging that the Classification Office has unequivocally failed to protect New Zealand citizens, if the title is indeed as harmful as they make it out to be. With all of this taken into consideration, there is really only one conclusion that can be drawn. The systems are being manipulated to push an agenda, and while this seems like a massive accusation to make, it does become clear once you look at the hypocrisy the office has shown. In the video titled Classification Office Talks About Banned Games, Censored Gaming talks about how the New Zealand Classification Office tested the reactions of a select number of gamers to Hatred, Dead by Daylight and Postal 3, all games that have a degree of violence and are legal here in New Zealand. They missed a great opportunity to see what gamers felt about games that dealt with sexual themes. It is as if the topic is far too taboo, which is sad. But the fact that any such game was missing should be noted. In Postal 3, you have the ability to urinate on NPCs in a demeaning and dehumanizing way, which is strictly against the fourth point in the list of bannable offences. However, due to the stylized setting and tongue-in-cheek nature of the game, it gets a pass. What is interesting is that the developer of Gun Gale Double P said something very similar, yet their game remains banned. However, for the grossest violation of the same point, we need to look no further than our backyard. In the New Zealand movie Crooked Earth, there is a scene where a Māori woman stands over a man who is lying face down on the floor and urinates on his head to shame him. No comedy, nothing. Pure dehumanization and incredibly demeaning. So what would you think the rating for this movie, that walks so close to the law, be? It would be fair to assume that it would receive the highest rating available in this country, R18. But no. Crooked Earth is rated R13. Truth be told, I don't really care about what it is rated. What I do care about is the clear hypocrisy shown. Being hard-ass on the rules when dealing with one genre but not another will do the classification office no good. They open this particular can of worms, it only seems right that they should eat them. While this may be fairly upsetting for the fans of these publications, there are ways to remedy the situation. The most obvious thing to do would be to send in a request to get these reclassified, and as long as the last time it was classified was over 3 years ago, this is a fairly easy and cheap process. However, as painful as it is to admit, the classification office has not broken any rules. The rulings are correct, as twisted as they may seem. This can be demonstrated best when the first anime banned in New Zealand, Puni Puni Poemi, kept its banned classification when it was appealed around 10 years ago. The best thing that can be done, in my opinion, is to make amendments to the current law. In the coming weeks and months, I'll be talking to my local MPs to see if they would support a new bill that would protect cartoon publications, because they seem to apparently need it. What I'll be pushing for is that the nature of a publication needs to be taken into account, and that evidence must be shown when banning a piece of cartoon work that shows that the unrealistic nature was taken into heavy consideration. In other words, cartoons should be judged less harshly than works that uses actors, just like how books or other literature are judged. This should make it harder to ban works that don't match the censor's personal tastes. It should be hard to ban publications. That way, only the most abhorrent, harmful works will be banned, and it will be less easy to push individual tastes and agendas. Just because something is confronting, discomforting, or tasteless does not mean it should be banned. For the rest of you that don't live in New Zealand, I would urge you to check out what is banned in your country. Try and do this every 6 months or so, and if there are titles that you think that should not be there, figure out how and why they are there. I will admit, when I started investigating for this video, I thought that the only anime banned here in New Zealand was Puni Puni Poemi. Boy was I wrong. And once you have figured out the issue, talk to your local politicians and see what can be done. At the end of the day, politicians are public servants, so they should be more than happy to hear you out. And for everyone who is watching this video and cares about this kind of censorship, please tweet that you are dissatisfied with the bannings of any of these publications at NZOFLC. And to show your support, use the hashtag H4NZ to let people know you care that ecchi is currently being attacked in New Zealand. I would also like to get this video in front of as many eyes as possible, so please share this out to as many people as you can. This will only really work if people are talking about it and are aware of what is happening in the small island nation. I thank you for your time and support.